Margaret Williamson MBE DL was born Margaret Ray in 1938 at Thornley-on-Tees, Yorkshire. Convent educated, she attended Liverpool University where she studied geography, an early indicator of her profound sense of the importance in people's lives of belonging to a particular place, of community. She was captain of netball, also an early indicator of her being both a team player and a team leader. Margaret completed her teacher training in London, where she began her teaching career, which included a period as a governess at a sheep shearing station in Australia, at the Brompton Oratory School. Her instinctive ability and deep desire to ensure each child flourished never left her, most latterly demonstrating itself in the children's choir she initiated under the auspices of the Congleton Choral Society, of which she was the most active president, but more of that shortly. Margaret gained an MSc in education, and moving with her family to Congleton in 1971, she taught geography and environmental science at the Girls' Grammar School, later Westfields. Here is what one of her former pupils has written in the book opened in her memory at Congleton Town Hall, just one of a huge number of personal tributes to Margaret from people in the town. Mrs. Williamson taught me geography throughout my 7 years at grammar school, and she was my form teacher in the 6th form. She was a huge influence on me during those years, and was by far the best and my favourite teacher from all my schooling. Louise Bratt. Margaret combined a deep care for her charges with a natural authority. I've heard it tell that a firm look from Margaret with that raised single eyebrow could stop a child at 10 paces. Apparently it did years later with one boy who just dropped some litter in the street. He very quickly picked it back up. But Margaret's improvements to the local environment in Congleton, a town she grew to love and the people of which certainly grew to love her, in quite a profound and simply extraordinary way, went far beyond litter picking. Although at the same time, she never left that because, of course, she knew that it's the culmination of a host of small actions which ultimately make a big difference. Like her arranging and joining in the digging in of daffodil bulbs, which now, year after year, gives so much pleasure to us as we enter the town. And her dogged perseverance to get things done, each thing in themselves often far from glamorous, was what helped her translate vision into reality. And so it was with that approach that she became chairman of the Millennium Committee in the mid-1990s, which was set up for the purpose of restoring Congleton Park. John Lilly, her co-worker then, says, "It took 8 years of dedicated work to complete the design and construction, which was finally opened in 2005 by the Duchess of Gloucester. But no one will ever forget our first meeting. Margaret insisted it should be held in a pavilion in the park. There were holes in the roof and broken glass everywhere. When this was pointed out to Margaret, her reply was, 'Well, it will concentrate minds, won't it?' The bandstand was put back into use, and Margaret was a regular helper in staging the Sunday afternoon brass band concerts, which continued to this day with 8 concerts in the summer. And it was decided after all the hard work that the park should never be allowed to deteriorate again, so Friends of Congleton Park was formed and goes from strength to strength. Margaret was its main motivator. And of course, Margaret achieved much more in relation to the partnership projects in the town. Not only did she raise funds to form the first Congleton partnership, but also other partnerships in other towns right across the whole borough of Congleton as it then was, and which now plays such an important part in strengthening community life today. Margaret became involved in local politics and served for 15 years on the town council, although I always saw her as far above politics. It's a measure of the respect and esteem that she was held in by the town's civic society that she was made mayor no less than 3 times in 1995, 1999 and 2004. Doug Parker, her council colleague and longtime friend, describes her work in the town as phenomenal. And he recalls how she was always prepared to do a thorough job and never reluctant to get her hands dirty. He says, some years ago, and he was then chair of the town planning committee, they were considering proposed building work at the Heliosa nursing home. Margaret suggested that they should sneak up and have a look at it. So together, they scrambled through bushes. The mind boggles. As they were doing so, a caretaker shouted out, "Oi, what are you doing there?" They explained that they were looking for great crested newts. Afterwards, the story worsens actually. Afterwards, they wondered how they had been seen, because they were hidden quite deep in the shrubbery. But it turned out that Margaret had been smoking a cigarette, and the caretaker had spotted the smoke. I do wonder if she would have accepted a similar excuse from any of her pupils in her teaching days. People remember Margaret simultaneously with respect and a smile, a rare combination. And I think that incident reflects Margaret's determination and energy to get a job done with a sense of humour and a sense of fun, and a willingness to go where others would not dare to venture. Margaret really was quite extraordinary. Too few people in life are both inspirational visionaries and down-to-earth doers, as she was. Intelligent in approach, yet passionate and practical in application. Inspirers and equippers, starters and finishers, leaders and encouragers, both at the front and yet right behind you and alongside you, attending to detail yet always keeping in mind the bigger picture. This was Margaret. She was both awe-inspiring and yet motherly. In 2002, she produced a leaflet when standing for office, which outlined her motivation. And it's also quite remarkable how many of her commitments, indeed all of them, have been fulfilled. She wrote, "I believe very strongly in the value of developing partnerships between residents and the statutory authorities. The welfare and education of our young people are very important. Being a governor at Quinter School, a trustee of Vision and a committee member of Youth in Action and Youth Information Shop allows me to support these vital areas. An attractive environment gives daily pleasure and is good for the town in general. I thoroughly enjoy working with the Congleton and Bloom team, and I'm proud that Congleton represented the North West in the finals of Britain in Bloom 2001. As a trustee of Aspermia Trust, I realise its importance to the town, and I assure you that every avenue is being and will continue to be explored to ensure its best possible future." She said she aimed to really make a difference to the quality of life in Congleton. She certainly did that. She was indeed a founder member of Congleton in Bloom and served as its chairman. She was involved for 10 years, during which period we're all proud to record that it won many awards, not only from North West in Bloom, but also Britain in Bloom. She was instrumental during over 20 years in a myriad of ways in improving the environment in Congleton. And Joe Money, writing in the Congleton Chronicle about Margaret, one of many, many tributes in the newspaper over the last few weeks, has written, "Margaret was a trustee of Congleton Community Projects from the start 20 years ago. She was an inspiration behind the One Earth festivals, the Cheshire Wildlife Trust. We worked together on the annual Garden Festival in the park. As a lover and promoter of the arts, she loved the living history reenactions we did for the Priestley Trail and the Walking Boundaries, and was a stalwart supporter of the museum and the Electric Picture House. She slogged over massive lottery bids, bringing in £250,000 into our town for the renovation of the town hall and other projects, the Heritage Lottery to renovate the town park. And from understanding the need for funding, she has been a long-standing trustee of the Congleton Town Trust and Sir William Dean Trust." What What has been missed out from this relaying of Margaret's many multifaceted public activities? Too much, I fear. Guide, leader and ambassador, patron of Congleton Youth Orchestra, supporter of Team Congleton, inspirer of the town's World War I commemorative celebration, supporter of ex-Mercians, the Young Uniformed Brigades and more. She instigated the making of a Congleton tapestry now in the museum, and as Trish Lovell records, also in the Chronicle, having seen one elsewhere, she felt Congleton could do better. Well, Congleton has done better. It is better. And we are all better as people for having known Margaret and having been inspired by her example. So it was absolutely in order that she was awarded an MBE for services to Congleton, and that in 2006 Margaret was appointed a Deputy Lord Lieutenant of Cheshire. The role of the lieutenancy is to represent the Crown, the Queen, within Cheshire, and to represent in turn the county to the Crown, and she did so in Congleton in an exemplary way. Robin Roberts writes on behalf of the lieutenancy, Lord Lieutenants and Deputy Lord Lieutenants are people well known in their locality for the service they have given or are giving through public life, charitable activity or voluntary service. It is not surprising, therefore, that Her Majesty the Queen did not disapprove of Margaret's appointment. And he continues, although it is true that the appointment of a DL may be regarded as an honour, there is also an expectation of a continuing commitment on the part of the individual to service within the lieutenancy. There is no doubt that she delivered on this commitment in Congleton. Indeed, her very special presence brought a dignity to every civic and ceremonial event. She was always smart but never ostentatious. She was always gracious but never overbearing. She never made anyone feel inferior, far from it. She had the incredible ability to make each of us feel special. She was interested in you, and you had something special to offer, to make this town, to make this community, to make this world a better place. The description, the First Lady of Congleton, attributed to her by another writer to the Chronicle, was absolutely apt. The last time I saw Margaret was when we sat together in the town hall to watch the Choral Society's production of Elijah some 3 weeks ago. And it was typical of Margaret that day that during the interval she was most concerned about whether I had some refreshments. And then after that, she was equally concerned to ensure that I met a young carer at the event who she wanted to support and who she asked me to support with regard to his further education. As one of her daughters said, and I do thank them for helping me to compile this tribute, her abiding gift was to galvanise the skills and energy that she saw in people around her. So many of you will have met Margaret, and after a quick chat, find you'd agreed to something, sometimes without even realising it. How true. Margaret was in the business of growing things, plants, trees, apple orchards, gifting in young people, teams, visions from conception to reality, community. No tribute can do justice to the esteem and affection with which Margaret is held in this town. She loved the town, and the town loved her back. Her family is very proud of her, and so is Congleton. News of her passing was received with great sadness in our hearts, because she touched so many of them. But we also know that the best way to honour her memory is to continue her work. For example, the completion of the cenotaph registration, and also the many, many other works which she inspired, and to do so with the same motivations she had. For service, not for status. To work cooperatively together with kindness and good humour. To be doers, not just talkers. To persevere. To be mindful particularly of the young and vulnerable. To be of one heart. To seek out the best of one another. For Congleton to be more than just another place name on a map. To be community. This is Margaret's legacy, and we are deeply thankful for it. We will remember her.